Hello, and thank you for tuning in today. I'm DW Hits with Fedawar Press. I am joined today with Molly Adaza. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Molly is the author of The Revenant's Bargain, which will be coming out later this year on Fedawar Press. So, Molly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as an author?
Of course. Yep. I'm a fantasy author. You and I have gone back and forth a little bit on if I'm a fantasy romance author,
Mhm.
and I'm still struggling with that romance part. But I do like to add a bit of that into my books. I primarily like to write second world. I like to be disconnected from this reality. It's that escapism. Um, and yeah, this is my first real novel that I finished. Of course, when I was in middle school, high school, I finished books that were but this has
Mhm.
really been the first one that I've been able to sit down, write all the way through, had developed plot and characters, and I've really enjoyed, you know, the process of this book. I'm also a master's of public health student at Emory University in Georgia, so I think sometimes my public health background gets into my fantasy writing a little bit, even though I try and keep those pretty separate.
Mhm. No, but sometimes those things, you're so used to thinking about so many things in daily life, they can creep in, and they can also give you a unique perspective when it comes to storytelling.
Mhm.
So I
But
think
then
that's
my
neat.
advisors at school don't like how flowery my language gets when I'm writing about public health.
So they don't like it when it goes the other way.
Exactly. When there's too much detail, they're like, this could be, half of the sentence. And I'm like, yeah, but detail, I'm setting the scene. They're like, no, not here.
Fantastic. So you mentioned, a long time ago, like you wrote a little bit. How long have you been writing for?
I remember writing for the first time really in about sixth grade. I had a
Mhm.
lot of notebooks confiscated in middle school and high school. I would have two, and I would just flip them back and forth to take notes or to write.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, I did very well in school despite constantly writing. Um,
Mhm.
and it's always been fantasy. It's usually set in medieval times. I really like the sword fighting. I also really like dragons. So it's very odd that this novel doesn't have any dragons because usually those are the main focus of my writing.
Well,
Uh,
it is the first one in the series, though.
True.
We can hope.
There's time.
Well, that's fantastic. And I think teachers like that, they're just jealous that you have something more interesting that you're paying attention to.
I did have one teacher in like 10th grade that after the first week, she figured out I was writing and she
Mhm.
allowed me to do it as long as I kept my grades up. And she was one of the first people I
Ah.
told that I had a publishing contract. I found her on Facebook and she was like, I didn't want to crush your dreams.
Well, that sounds like you had at least one good one on the way up.
Right.
Well, that's fantastic. So tell us what you're working on right now.
Yeah. So my debut novel, The Revenant's Bargain, is set in a secondary world where there's two different societies, both with magical abilities, but one of them, the Fortarians, earn their magic through a coming of age event, and the other one has innate magic, the Ultons, where they're born with their magical abilities, all with differing levels depending on how much magic their parents had and their grandparents before them. And despite the fact that these two societies have to work together because they're on the same continent, there is some tension between the two, especially because the Ultons rule over the Fortirians. So my book starts with Casella. She's born in a Fortirian camp, but she has innate magic that they eventually kind of figure out. So there's that who's her dad, but her mother is murdered, and right after that, she's rescued, taken by the head general in the Alton army, and raised in their castle. So she learns about her innate magic, and she also
Mhm.
learns how to be a lady because that's what's expected of her. But she really wants to fight. She's trained to be on the front lines, and eventually it leads to her sneaking off to fight on the front lines where she almost dies, but she meets her fated mate who is Fortirian. So now she has
Mhm.
this connection back to her roots, and it starts her elaborate scheme to not only get revenge on her mother's murderers, but also to show the Fortarians that just because she is a female doesn't mean that she is any weaker. And eventually she gets entered into the coming of age sacrament, which is essentially a bloodbath for 38 days, and then
Hmm.
survivors of it earn their magic.
Hmm.
So I've loved writing it. I love the themes of figuring out your place in the world, whether that's based on your skills, what you've earned, or what you're kind of innately born with, balancing those two, as well as being a woman in a society that doesn't always think the best of you. So I've gotten to explore a couple of those different themes, especially with, she's about the same age as me. Some people who have read it said that I put myself into the character a little bit. And it's really made writing the book just so much more enjoyable. And I just love the magic system.
And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed reading it. And you have to put yourself into your work. How do you write a book and not do that?
Right. And it's no fun to be an outside spectator of it either. Like there's magic, you want to
Hmm.
be in there.
Hmm. Definitely. And the themes are definitely uh, very interesting. They tug at you. Like you're saying, the whole idea of being born with something or having to earn it. The idea of women not having certain rights and her kind of demanding to have those rights, and it brings a lot of nuance as the story goes along. And
Mhm.
I can't wait to be able to share it with people.
Me too.
Mm. So tell us, what exciting things do you see going on in your future?
So other than the book coming out, I'm also currently writing the second book. So hoping that that lives up to the first book and I can continue throughout the series. But also really exciting. I graduate with my master's of public health in about a week. So that's
Congratulations.
thank you. And as I've told you, and I've told my editor Renee, like I will get to the edits. I'm just trying to get through grad school.
Mhm.
So as exciting as graduation is, I'm also really excited to put more hours into my book.
Mhm. Definitely, and we're excited to see where book 2 goes as well. And so do you have? It sounds like you have some good celebrations coming up as
Mhm,
well. With graduation. So
mhm.
definitely congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'll let everybody know who's watching. Molly's information is all in the description below, her bio, as well as the link to her Twitter. And everyone definitely needs to go down and click that link and follow it. Um, is there anything else you want to mention to our viewers about your upcoming debut novel?
No, I'm just really excited to finally share my writing with the world. For a lot of my friends and family, this is kind of the first that they're hearing about it. So it's taken a
Mhm.
couple people by surprise. Um, but I'm just really excited to share it.
I'm really excited for it too. And you guys, like I said, go down there, click that link, follow her on Twitter because there'll be it's future announcements coming up. You want to stick around. You want to see that cover when it gets revealed. You want to see it when we come to the final release date. And 1 second here, and bits of Booge. Thrilled for the
That's
world to experience your incredible talents.
oh, thanks, Sarah.
So that's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Molly.
Thank you for having me.
And and we hope you guys will, like I said, keep an eye out because there's a lot of exciting news coming in the future. And have a good night, everybody.